Hi everyone and welcome to the Teen Vivienne. I've been asked so many times if I could make this little kiddie dress into a grown-up dress. And I thought, well, I'm not really doing grown-up clothing, but the way around it is to do a teen version that will fit most of you as well, and myself. So the teen version has the sizes 14 to 20, and it actually starts with the height that you look for, the same as in a children's pattern, and that's really good for us small ladies as well, because for me most of the stuff is actually too long in the waist. So you can choose your size by height and by waist from the sizing chart, and then you can also choose your bust line, and we're going to look at that in a minute in more detail when we look at the actual pattern and put it together. So for you it's very easy to adjust the bust size, the waist size. Every size comes as a separate file. Normally when you get a pattern you get the multi-size and the bust size is the same. So by doing every size as a different file, I was able to put in all these different bust sizes, and I'm so excited that I can offer you that now, because it really means you can just cut out and go. And all the dresses that are popping up on the side here were not fitted. That means I got their measurements, I cut it out, I made it, I put it in the post, they put it on, and this is how it fitted. So this is the advantage of having all those different bust sizes in there, and I'm extremely proud of everyone that was involved in this project and has brought it so far, from the fantastic photography by Ella Burbeck-Brown to the models Naida and Ivana, who just out of this world, and of course Ella as well. She did the little Spanish dress. We've got so much support from everyone. Just a few pointers with regards to the fabric that I would use for this dress before we start off. It's a dress that's really suited to using a cotton stretch sateen. I would suggest a percentage of 3 to 5 for elastane and lycra to go with your cotton, and I'll tell you, this is the most comfortable and beautiful dress you've ever made for yourself. Love it. My very first dress I made in this cotton fabric, and at first I thought, oh, this is not quite the right stuff, because I was so set on the sateen, but because it had stretch it also worked a treat. Now then, one of the things that is so difficult for people, they don't know which size they should cut out. Find a woven dress in your cupboard that is similar to the fabric you're going to use, and measure across and see what that is. And when you measure it and add it up, you will probably find, to your surprise, that it is exactly your waist or even a little bit smaller. If you want to make this dress as a workwear dress, obviously yes, you do want a little bit of ease, but if you're making it to go out, to go to a party, you want it to look va-va-voom, wowza, then no, you don't want it to be with ease. You want to in fact get rid of the ease. So use that stretch sateen, because that would be perfect for it. When you're making it with a fabric that has no stretch at all, beautiful silk for example, in that case you need to add that inch to it, and you can watch the video how to adjust to your personal size, so you get a totally personalized dress as well. So it's very easy to do. There's nothing to it, so don't get scared. And this is what the pattern looks like when you print it off. So I'm just going to turn this around here. So you have a test scale which you need to measure, so make sure that you have in fact your 5 centimeters, or for everyone that works with inches, that you have an inch here. And when you've got that, you know it's printed off correctly. It needs to be printed actual size or 100%. First of all, you cut all the way around all the pieces, including the dashed lines. They are attachment lines where we put different pieces together. So it's not a multi-size pattern. Every size has their own pattern file. I've got a pile of stuff here, loads and loads of little bits and pieces that can be really confusing when you start, but fear not, you have everything labeled, and also they are in order. So if you print them off in order and cut them out in order and don't mix them up, it's easy to put together. For example, we've got the Vivienne integrated or integral cuff, and A and B. So A and B obviously goes together like that. So I know that, and I'm going to put that away, sellotape it together. And then I've got my Vivienne cuff, A and B, and I sellotape those together. The Vivienne cuff, which is just a rectangle like that, is the one that is going to be sewn together like this and put on the dress like you can see in the little picture on the side. And that is a very simple cuff. And I personally really like the integral cuff. And that cuff looks like this. It's actually sewn with a slit here, and then you can turn it up if you like, just like that, and I think that is really, really pretty. So this is the integral cuff. So now we've got the sleeve. So I'm finding all my bits for the sleeve, and again that's quite easy because all the sleeve bits will have this yellow flower on. So I'm again putting them together in order. So we've got A, B and C, and now I need to quickly find which one. D, here it is. Brilliant. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to sellotape here together, sellotape this under, a little bit like a little puzzle, but you save a lot of paper doing it like that. So, and I'm going to sellotape that together to get my sleeve. And as if by magic, it's together. Right, let's have a look at this sleeve pattern. You've got the markings on the lower end for the cuff that I've just shown you, where you also see where you need to snip it. So if you're doing this sleeve, you want to snip this on the fabric just a little bit so that you know where it is. And we're also going to reinforce this bit with a little bit of filing. Then we've got the integral cuff just sewn on right sides together, turn to the inside, obviously, ta-da. And then you would have the slit here, and that is exactly what we've just looked at here. That's that slit, right? Okay, so far? Right, let's get on. Let's put this away. And then at the top here, we've got a short sleeve. And most short sleeves tend to be on patterns the same as the the big sleeve, but you do want to come in more so when the sleeve comes together there is not a little bit of unsightly standing up. You've got a marking for the front, which is really important, because when you put the sleeve over, fold it like that, you will see that the front here is cut away a whole lot more than the back, and that is because we need all that extra to go around the back shoulder so that actually you've got room to move. And everyone that has followed me testing this knows how I struggle to get this sleeve so that it fits nice, it's not too tight, it's not too big, it's just perfect. So you want to ease in along the sleeve head so that it fits in really well. And if you are watching the video on the 50s dress, there's a really long piece on how to do the perfect sleeve as well in there. Then you've got the sleeve head marking. That's also very important because that goes where the shoulder seam is. And my neighbor's dog is like singing along with me. I think he hears me talk and he's talking too. So at the bottom of the short sleeve, we want to gather it a bit, and you want to gather it so it comes to 4 inches or 12 centimeters. So effectively this much is gathered in, and that is just so that it's not so loose over the shoulder. I don't really like that. But to just check this out, this was one of my trial ones and I broke the zip, so can't wear it anymore, so what a shame. Anyway, this was the sleeve. You want to have the elastic around here. It doesn't really need to go all the way down, and there's a super video showing you how to do that as well, a separate one which is in the playlist, and also of course linked in the instructions, so you can have a quick look at that sleeve. The sleeve also is very shaped towards the front if you watch this. If you do this straight over, you're getting a really boring old sleeve, which I'm sure you don't want. Anyway, that's all for this sleeve. Let's move on to my cap sleeve. A and B together. Actually, I'm just realizing that I haven't got a little flower on there. See, the things you see just before you release your pattern. So you know that's also a sleeve bit. It says Vivienne cap sleeve, so you know that's what it is. If you put this over your other sleeve, you see that the top part of it is the same, but it comes in a little bit more on the side, and that's simply because otherwise it would be too much fabric here. Now here we're elasticating and here we aren't, and when you put your sleeve in as well, you might want to do a little fitting, because the bigger your arm is, the more you need. But if you have very, very slender arms, or a teenager you're making it for with very slender arms, it might actually be that you want to come down fairly straight on this. Okay, so I would actually test this when you're putting it in, saying, look, can you quickly put this over, and let's see if you actually need that. So you don't want this to be too big or too small. This is the perfect for the average arm. Okay, so that is your cap sleeve, and there's a special video for that again, showing you how to put it together. We're working here with outer fabric and then lining. That's one way to do it, and I think probably the easiest way. And then you can, if you wanted to, you could like elasticate it or slightly gather it, or like I say, put this out. This is up to you. I'm showing you a few options on that as well. Right, now let's move on to the collar pieces. So we've got quite a few here, and you need to find the ones that belong together, because there are two collars in this pattern. We have got an asymmetrical collar and we've got a standard collar. So you want to put everything that says asymmetrical first on one side, that's it, and everything that just says Vivienne collar on the other side. And there we go, separated out. So let's put the standard collar together first. So I've put my collar together. We've got A, B and C, and I've also got these little lines. Oh look, I've got a double line there. Never mind, still got to get rid of that. Just leave it. Anyway, these markings here, when you're snipping the collar that you're cutting out, you don't want to snip all the way to the end, right? They're just so you know this corresponds to the snips on the bodice, so that you can line them up. So tiny little snips, okay? We've also got this nice shape here, so you can decide whether you want to, on the basic collar, do the round one or a straight one. I think sometimes for us grown-ups that are a little bit older and have passed 50, this might not look so nice, right? Anyway, it's a lovely collar, and yes, we're all pretending to be teens here because we all love this dress, so it's quite funny really. And now I've got my asymmetrical collar, right and left side. So I'm finding my left side, ta-da, and then I'm finding my right side here and left side there again. So let's put one side together at a time. And there's an attachment line missing, people. I better hop over on the computer and do that before I upload this pattern. Whoops. See, this is really hard when you don't have the attachment lines, you know, these no trim things, are so hard to put together. There we go. I'm just gonna, there we are. That's it. And then I put the other bit over here, and that's it. Basically put it together. So then when the collar sits on the dress, it's like that. You can overlap it one way or another. You've got the markings to line it up. And then the back obviously comes to the back, and we've got a shape that goes to the outside. And I just thought I'd explain this to you, why that is, why there's such a big gap in the back, because as you pull it round, this will create a shorter distance here. That means it's gonna roll up a little bit and come over, and that prevents the collar from flopping up and down. So that's a very important design feature. Now I can put together my front panel. There we go, and I'm going to sellotape that. And we're just going to have a quick look now at the front panel while we're here, because you've got a few options. Obviously where you got the notches, that is where the collar is going to go, and I'm just going to grab the standard collar so you can see that. It goes from here all the way over. Now this is cut on this fold, so this is a centimeter further over, so that when you've got your seam allowance here, it sits exactly on the edge, and then you can work your collar around, and all these notchings here, shoulder point, etc., are going to line up. So if you snipped it, some people might not even want to actually pin it. Anyway, that's your collar. It is not that high, it is quite low, you can see it on the picture, so it's quite nice. And then I've got a scoop here which is lower and gives you a sort of more straight away down. But I've also cut a scoop which is wider, because I mean, I personally quite like the wide scoop as well. So this is how I've done my dress that I've just blended in here. You can see that that's a big scoop on the front. Now I'm going to grab myself my side pieces. Now you've actually got two front side pieces, one in regular and one in slender. So I'm going to make sure that I put regular on regular, grab the other one, that's my slender, and that's my slender. And I put those together. The question here is, why have two pieces for something that's essentially very, very similar? If you put these on top of each other, you'll notice that the only difference is actually down here, and we're just going over, and this will amount to a centimeter in difference. So why not just have the same one? The problem would be that I've got all these lines which correspond with a bust line, and if I had them over here, I'd end up with lots and lots of lines, and I know you guys get confused. This is something that I don't want. So I'm making absolutely sure that this is an easy to access pattern. So you've got a slender and a regular, and the slender is a centimeter smaller really than the regular, and that's all there is to it. So it's not that much of a difference. And then you've got the bust lines here on the side piece as well. And if you look at your little sizing chart here, this is for the 18. So in my case, for example, my bust is 94. I hit the top here 93, 94. I know the 94 fits me. I've made quite a few of these. That is with no ease at all. I cut it as it is. If you wanted more ease, I would always recommend you only go up one line. 2 line will be too big. You don't want that much ease. It's a fitted dress. So for me, I can leave it exactly how it is. And if you have a smaller bust, say 88, then you'd cut it where the blue line is. And the waist stays the same. That was always the problem, and for most patterns, and that's why the fitting is so hard. And also, if you have the smaller size, you're going over on the waist to that side a little bit as well, and that makes the thing fit so much better on that slenderer figure. So you can also see the lines on the front for the sizing, so you have to cut those away as well. And very often when you do a bust adjustment, you will find that if you do it yourself, that you have some gapiness here where the armhole is, because most people don't go over, and you have to do that. And then if you mark on your fabric where you have these here, you just snip them with a size, and then all you have to do is really, you walk this up, and you can see the snips totally correspond, and it goes right all the way to the top. So you don't even need to pin it, depending on the fabric, you know, obviously. So that is your front and your bust lines. And if you needed to make the bust line a lot bigger or a lot smaller, then you want to watch my little video on how to do that. But it's very simple because we've already got the lines there. We just need to make them smaller, or we need to extend them, that's all. On the back here, I've also put these together. We've got 2 pieces again. I've got A and B, and A and B, slender and regular. And again, the difference is not big. You can just see there's a little bit here, right? So that we're also coming in slimmer on the back. And overall, then the difference is 4 centimeters in the sizing. So you've always got a slender and you've got a regular. And you've also got markings on here. That is where you attach your cap sleeve. Will be attached here. Centimeter seam allowance off. All the way around. And it will end here. So that needs to be marked, and that needs to be marked. Now the lines that you've got on here, are the same ones you had before. The blue one is for the smaller size, green, you know, I've only got green and purple there because actually it's so negligent. It only really makes a difference for the smaller size, the blue one. Now the next thing that you need to pay attention to is on both the back and the front, you've got the dotted line and you've got a solid line. And the solid line comes out further and is lower. That's when you want to put a sleeve in. And for the cap sleeve and sleeveless, you will use the dotted line, and that's much less. Now I would never cut it off. So say I'm making a dress which has got, you know, no sleeves, sleeveless, then I would just fold it over like that. If I'm making the other one, then don't cut it off, just snip it like that so that you can fold it in and then it's ready for your next dress. You know, it's like you don't need all these different pattern pieces, do you? You can just do it like that and then, you know, pop it back out depending on which one you are going to make. On the center back panel, I've also got lines for the different scoops. But you have to be careful here. It's not the higher line for the collar, it's the lower line for the collar. You can tell that by the lines that come out here. And also, of course, I've made them the same here. So if you're cutting the solid line, you continue cutting the solid line on here so that you get that big scoop, which gives you that beautiful shape. And where we have the collar sitting down there, which looks absolutely gorgeous. If you want to use a higher back neckline, then you cut it away at that line here. And if you wanted the big scoop again, but further over, in the same way as we have there, then you cut it away there. And again, these lines here means that is cut on the fold. And the back is cut twice. And this dashed line here is the seam allowance. That's where we're going to put our zip in. And that's basically all the pattern pieces, apart from the little tab, which goes on the dress if you wanted to do that. Phew, that was quite a lot of information, wasn't it? Do you need a break? I do. So I'm going to pop off and get a cup of coffee and then we're going to start on the skirts. We have got quite a lot of options, so let's get on with it. Let's start with a circle skirt. You've got two skirts in one. If you cut away at this point, you actually get a really big skirt which has box pleats in it, and of course at the lower end of the hem it's going to be quite big. If you cut away here at this point for the flat-waisted circle skirt, then you get one which has no gather, no pleats at the top, and it's not quite as voluminous at the hem. You've also got a peplum option and a slightly shorter option. Now here you can see the pleats. They come as slender, that's dashed, or as regular, and that's the solid line. So I didn't want to make lots of pattern pieces. I thought, well, let's keep it to this one. I would suggest, however, that you print them off both so that you've got both of them, because in some dresses like this one, I use the big one for the outer skirt and then I use the smaller one as the lining, and that works really well with a bubble hem as well. So I would recommend trace it or print it off twice. And then we've got the straight skirt, and that has pink dots for the back skirt and black dots for the front skirt, so you can't get confused, and a peplum length as well. And don't forget to mark where your pocket ends and starts. And again, for the pleats, we've got the slender with the dashed line and the solid line for the regular. And that, my friends, is it. We've gone from kiddie to grown up. Is just, which of the Viviennes are you gonna make? Thank you for watching, everyone. Bye!